everybody's ready, call the meeting to order at 10:03. And is there anything that we need to have added to the agenda?
Nothing from administration's point of view, no.
Nothing from me as well.
I'd like to add, I'm not sure exactly where to add it, but just maybe a new business discussion of a weigh scale.
Okay.
Like
611?
611?
Yeah, 6:11. Okay. If there's nothing else, could I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Una? All in favor? It's carried. All right. Now, did anybody see anything in the minutes of the last meeting that needed to be addressed? If they're okay.
I'll make a motion that we accept the May 10th, 2022 minutes of the regular ASB meeting as presented.
Any discussion on that motion? If not, call a question. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we have no delegations. Dawn, 5.1, ag profile, where are we at?
So we did discuss August 31st. Carol sent us an update. We had a quick phone call chat with her that afternoon as well. So the update that she provided is in your package on, what is that, page 12? And so what I added in the orange is just comments, like kind of answers to her questions, and then we've sent this back to her, kind of a back and forth. So she's got a list of the articles that are being worked on at this point. So between Mr. Roach and I, we've provided her with some information as to where they can go from further information on those articles. And then she's also got some celebration series articles that they want to do and highlight, which includes the Pioneer families, the Ural Farms, our Centennial Farms. So they're still looking for a candidate for that. So I don't know, do you guys know of any of the Centennial Farms in the communities that we could highlight? If we can pass that on to Carol, that would be awesome. And then the spotlight on the farm family at Blue Ridge Farms, our new farm family. So Deb and Dawn Breakwaites were awarded the 2022 farm family. She spelled their name wrong, but I did correct it. So yeah, this is original as to what she sent, and then I sent it back saying, no, that's not how you pronounce, or it's not Dan, it's Dawn, and this is their last name. So yes, I did send the correction to her. She also wanted to do an honor piece for Doug Borg. So I suggested that she contact you, Peter, as a first contact, and then maybe she can contact Mrs. Borg following, but I thought you'd be the best for the first contact, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And some other ideas that they're thinking. So doing a write-up from the Reeve and then both our board chairs as well, for like economic development chair as well as the Ag Service Board. And some of the history of agriculture and woodlands. And then, of course, they want to highlight that bicentennial that's coming up, too. So a couple of things that are going on. Just looking for some local flair color ideas for that as well. And then, of course, between Mr. Roach and I, we had a few websites for farming jokes. So that's basically we don't have a lot of entries on the naming contest. That's the other thing. So something, if you know some kids that have some brilliant ideas, they can send them in. So that deadline is the end of this month. So
Have we approached the school, like in the fort, And in area to
I think,
see if any.
I think Bert had sent something. I'll have to check with Bert and see if we did do that. I don't know if we haven't done any kind of presentation in
No.
the school, no. But we could send them some information about the contest. I will double check with Bert on that one.
Just a question, Don.
Yeah.
How do we get in contact with Carol for people who wanna participate in the advertisement on the agriculture side?
I can send you her contact information.
Okay.
So she's got a fellow, so she's got a fellow that is working on the advertising part of it now, because Carol's taken on another role
Yeah.
with Business Link, and so she's not as available as she was in the past, so she's got a reporter working for her,
Dean.
as well as the advertisement.
Is that Dean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good, because I
Yeah.
think, I'm doing some stuff with Dean, so.
Okay.
But it's just, for the general public, because I know there's some people that would like to.
I think we have it on our website, honestly,
Okay,
but I can also pass on her information to you.
yeah,
And then, but I'm pretty sure it's on our website.
yeah, if it's on our, I didn't look,
Yeah,
so.
I
But
think
if it is, if that contact information is on the website, that's the only information. I
like
need.
99% sure it's on the website.
Okay,
1% that maybe I will double check and make sure, but I'm pretty sure it's on there.
yeah, maybe what I'll do is I will contact Lorna and tell her that there is a naming contest for that ag profile, maybe she can get that to the
Well,
kids.
and I'm sure we've got a little write-up that we can send to the school too.
Yeah, maybe that's what
So, and I'm thinking Bert did that.
okay,
Because he prepared something for Alan, or Counselor Dean, to take to 4-H clubs. And I'm not sure if he did.
It'd be good to get it in the school.
But yeah, we
Yeah.
can send it to the school. I
Yeah.
think we were going to concentrate on the 4-H clubs, but I mean, the schools
the only school we have.
full of little farmers,
Yeah,
exactly,
The
so,
only school we have is the farming community, so
yeah,
they'll definitely have some
yeah.
creative ideas, so.
Well, and we can also send it to some of the White Court schools
Yeah.
too, so
Yeah.
I'll just touch
Yeah,
base
because
with
there's
Bert on
gotta
that.
be quite a few farm kids come to the White Court School.
Yeah, there is, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Dawn on this? And could I have a motion to accept that as information? Deb?
I'll make a motion that we accept the Egg Service Board, or the Egg Profile Project Update, August 31st, 2022, as information.
Any more discussion? If not, all in favor? It's carried. All right, Dawn. Rural Beautification Award.
Okay. So we've had some nominations come in from the public, from board members. So we've got a list there on page 16
Yeah.
of your package, with the ones and by division as well. So we did have one that declined the nomination, and they just felt that their yard was not pretty enough yet.
They want some more work before
So,
it's public.
and you know what? But that's the kind of people that we need to have as nominees because they really care about their yard. And
They're
we,
not one of these ones though, Doc?
I did put it that they had declined. That
didn't
was
see
in
that.
Division 2, right at the top there.
Oh, geez, I didn't.
Yeah, it's in bold, Devin.
Yeah, I don't know. I read through it.
Yeah. And then we had another individual that he came in and we had to go at a certain time because that was when the best light was. So it was really cute. So I thought, oh, that's awesome. Those are the kind of people that we really want to receive the awards because they are truly caring about their yards and stuff. So so they're all there. We do have one that property is listed for sale. That was in June. So, and this nomination came in from the public. So I don't know how we would handle that. I'm not sure about that one. Like, they haven't sold yet,
I think that
but
happened last year though. One of the award recipients had moved from there, but she still received
yeah,
the award.
yes, that's true. Yeah, she was yes, I remember that situation.
Yeah, they can still be, I would say they could still be
Yeah.
recognized for the
And their
property they
yard
left,
is
right?
beautiful,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
Was
okay.
there a deadline for this? the
Yeah, it was
nomination?
July 15th, I think. Yeah.
Did you have some ideas, sir?
What's that?
Did you have some ideas?
No,
I
not
was
at
gonna
all.
say, you probably won't get anybody in your yard taking pictures now because everything's dying. Nobody want pictures now.
Yeah, the yards are getting a little sketch. I had our summer staff go and do some pictures last week or the week before at one place. Everyone else has been sending me pictures, so that's awesome because they've taken them throughout the season. So, but yeah, even then they're like, I don't know, there's not much stuff that's nice. I'm going, come on, it's still nice. You can have a nice fall yard.
Yeah, some places will
Yeah.
do that.
And most of them are really beautiful. We're our own worst critics. So
Oh, yeah, it's your own. Yeah.
yeah, like I look at my yard, I'm like, ugh, gosh. But
Your
it's
yard's very nice.
my neighbor's like, oh, it's like a park, and I'm going, well, okay. But yeah, so I think we have some really great nominees. I've got pictures, a couple of pictures of each nomination, and I did include the ones that declined, mainly because I had this all done before I knew that they declined. So instead of redoing the whole thing, so you can just ignore that Division 2 one.
It's unfortunate because that would be one would be nice to watch it
Yeah,
bloom as it
Yeah.
goes along.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I'm sure that Faye, it was your nomination, so obviously they have a nice yard, right?
Because I knew they would say that, oh, it's not good enough.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
yeah. Well,
And
just
you
these
would
two
tell-
pictures.
No, that's not up to you to decide.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody else decided, just do it.
You're not the judge. We'll be the judge of that.
Yeah,
Like you said, though, your own worst critic.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
It is. It is.
absolutely.
So how do we go, what is the process for judging?
So basically, as long as you agree that these are all beautiful yards, we're good to go. We can nominate, or we can award them all. We don't have any doubles, any competitions in them, so yeah.
Okay. I thought we were gonna have to narrow it down.
No, we provide, so we do provide for one, like, I haven't done the budget for 2023 yet, but I would include the awards for one for each division, for each category, right? So we could potentially have 14
Okay.
awards, but we don't have that many nominations. But yeah, but there. So we do a non-agricultural and an agricultural category in each division, and then I would just put that into the 2023 budget. So I'll make sure that in the 2023 budget we have enough to cover these awards,
Perfect.
basically,
Okay.
which is kind of cool for awarding it for 2021 in 2022 and 2023. We can make or put that into the budget and make sure it's all covered. So
Okay, good.
yeah.
Excuse me. Awesome.
Any more discussion on that?
I can make a motion. I'll make a motion that the Ag Service Board accepts the Rural Beautification Awards as information.
All in
Oh,
favor?
wait, sorry. We need to
Zero.
change that. We'll need to say awards, the
That's
nominator
one.
awards. Instead of accept as information, we're going to
As-
approve the awards.
Oh.
I'm sorry, that was a
So
typo
I'll
in
make-
there.
I'll-
The, oh,
Withdraw
sorry,
that.
I have Division 3 where it's Doc and Nancy Sharon. I think they might be non-agriculture.
Okay, that's fine, I can
That's
change
not-
that. I think it's because they had the quarter, did they not farm the quarter? They rented out?
They have
Or
a
was
few
it-
down Green Core.
That was it, they have a quarter down in Anselmo.
Yeah, that was the
Yes,
Division
okay.
2, but the Division 3 people, like, I know they have farmland that they rent out as well, but I don't know that it's in Woodlands.
Okay,
It's Green Court, so,
okay.
Well, that's close to the border.
yeah, it's,
I think you still consider them probably agriculture. Then.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can still consider them agriculture.
Great area.
It's a great area.
I don't think there's only one there anyway, so.
And it
doesn't matter
won't,
which one.
yeah.
the awards are all the same anyway. We don't distinguish between agricultural and non-agricultural, so we can, and they're the only other one in that division, so I think we're fine.
Did Sharon Michelle also get nominated, or you didn't submit them?
No,
No, okay.
Did you get the gist of that, motion, Jen?
We'll have to change the motion to that we're awarding the nominee or the words. Yeah.
I,
Well,
Sorry, I should have caught that one.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, the Farm Award Banquet, that's coming up in November, right?
Yes,
November 11th?
yes. So the ceremony is on the 11th, and it's during Farm Fair International.
Okay, that's right after RMA.
Is that one that is that first week in November or second week in November?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I think it's.
You know what? You're right, because last year, or the year before, Andre picked up the award from during RMA for the farm family, so. Yes, so yeah, you're right.
I think that is, 8th, 9th, and 10th is RMA, I believe.
Okay,
Yeah, it's right before it.
Right before Farm Fair.
okay.
I could make this if, unless others want to or whatever. It down further, there's a couple things that I can't make it to, but this one I could.
Yeah, because basically what you're looking for, Dawn, is that we have the authorization to send 2 members to that
Yeah.
banquet.
Yes, so we will get 2 complimentary tickets.
Yeah.
From BMO, and, so then we can have 2 people, we could have 1, whatever,
Well, I
it'd be
think-
nice if we had some representation there for our farm
Yeah.
family, so.
Yeah, and I think it's good that Devin's able to go because they are from his area.
Vision,
And I believe that, I think when we had our discussion, you're the one that nominated them.
I actually didn't nominate them, but I'm in favor of them
Yeah.
receiving it for sure. Yeah, yeah.
So that would be really good.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure, what my commitment is there, but I could possibly,
Okay.
just put me as an alternate now. If someone else is able to go, that would be much better.
Okay.
They also receive. I should kind of. They also receive tickets to. Go, right?
Oh, absolutely, yes, yeah. I
Yeah.
believe they get a ticket for every member that they listed in their application,
Oh,
I think. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I do believe the entire family can go, so.
And the service board just sponsors our members to be at the bank.
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, yeah. I would be able to go to that. So.
Okay.
Unless there's like all of you are fighting me for it, then you can. But if nobody else is able to or whatever, I definitely can go.
Okay, so we need a motion to authorize that, pay? Any makes a motion to authorize that expenditure?
Yes, I do.
I saw 2 hands and like,
Sorry, Linda.
I was just looking at that direction at the time.
it's quite all.
Any more discussion? If not, I'll call a question. All in favor? All in favor is carried. Okay, the ESB conference.
So all we've basically got is the time, the date and place. We don't have any agenda yet or anything like that for the conference. It's just the 1-day regional conference, this one. And it will be in Drayton Valley.
Valley?
Yeah, on November 2nd. So after the organizational meeting, which we don't know, like, I suspect we'll know who's gonna be on the board, but we don't know for sure. So I'm not sure how we should, because I'm not sure when the registration deadline is gonna be either. And I think our when's the organizational meeting? Is that the 26th?
Ours?
26.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we're not the only ones that are having a later October organizational meeting, so they're probably going to have their registration deadline a
So
little
they-
bit later.
Yeah, so they don't have a real agenda or anything yet.
Not
for
at this point, no. I suspect we'll not get that until October, mid-October is usually when that comes out, so.
Would we have time to take a head count of those that want to attend between the organizational meeting and
Yeah, I
the
think
deadline?
we could do a quick yes. If I know,
Conference call.
yeah, I can just send out an email blast, and as long as I send it to everybody instead of just Peter.
If we made the motion now for you to register those available after the organizational
Yeah.
meeting, then once you send out your email, you have the authorization to do it all anyways.
Right, yeah, that's fine. We don't have to
Then
ratify
we
that
just don't
motion
have to
later on.
require
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
sure.
Is there a cost on the, to the county, so like if we registered so many people and then not that many
No,
show up?
the only cost will be honorariums and if people are, like for mileage.
So that's a.
Yeah,
county-
there's no registration
our
fee.
expenses.
Yeah. Yeah, it would just be the board member expenses. So there's no registration fee for this one.
I'm not able to,
Okay, can we have a motion then to direct our manager to register those members? Nina,
Yes, I'll make that motion.
any more discussion? All in favor? It's carried.
So I'll send out an email maybe once I get the agenda. And then you can take a look at the agenda and then we'll get after the organizational meeting, once we know who the board makeup, who is making up the board,
Yeah,
then we can proceed from there.
all right. 6.4, the budget comments.
Oh dear.
Anyone have any concerns, or is there some things that stand out for you? Maybe Dawn, is there some things there that you see that are a little,
At this
that
stage?
are outside of what you expected it to be?
No, there are a few things that I'm working with Andrew to get changed because they were miscoded or
Okay,
put in differently. Unfortunately, with the new Payworks system, like any of the council members, time doesn't get allotted to the Ag Service Board. So he's going to make an adjustment to kind of make it look like your time is coming to the, because that's part of our Ag Service Board grant, right?
okay,
So your time is not being shown in our expenses
okay.
because of the Payworks thing. It's just going as a council, like in a general administration. So I talked to Andrew and he's going to make it, like kind of work it through so that the expenses show more correctly.
properly accounted for.
Yeah, because I want to make sure when we report our Ag Service Board grant, reporting that it's accurate and that we're getting credit for you guys attending meetings and such. So I have to do a little bit of work with Andrew more on that. Other than that, just like a few slight miscoding things and we have the Briar patch in there, that's 180 something thousand. So that one is kind of a weird one too, because it's not really Ag Services. It's just kind of stuck into Ag Services, and that's where
Part
it
of
goes.
that, the way that the corporate services did that at the time.
Yeah, at the time that was the best fit for it, and we didn't have any significant expenses except for a little bit of the gas and power and like that, like maintenance kind of stuff, and it wasn't really affecting our budget that much. But that kind of makes a big hit on the budget, but that was for that, the asbestos remediation. Yeah. So, so Andrew and Andre were gonna discuss that and see if maybe that should be a capital cost more so than into our operating stuff. So that should change as well. And then the only thing that I did add was this eDNA project I
Yeah.
mentioned up in the report.
Yeah.
So, we're looking at doing, this is very, very, very much in its infancy yet because we're not even sure where we can get this tested yet. But with the MD Big Lakes, I believe Yellowhead County, who else did I say? Parkland, or did I even say anything? I didn't even say anything. No. So, several municipalities in this area, we're looking at doing water testing So we'll get some water, and then that way, like from different sites, like remote locations, so we can see if we have wild boar, any kind of porcine DNA basically coming out of that. So if we get a pig DNA, we'll probably know we've got wild boar in that area where there's not, say, pig farms around or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a different way to maybe do some surveillance for wild boar in areas that we don't think there is, but we suspect maybe. Like
lot.
north of the fort, we've had a wild boar killed, but we've not seen any more in that area, so.
Some of those remote places, like a lot of your problem areas are probably recognized by reports versus.
Exactly,
I
yeah.
would think that Corbett Creek would be a good place to do a test
Mm-hmm.
You never
at the
see
mouth
it.
of Corbett Creek, because I know that we seen, a few years ago, we seen a sow with 3 little, spotted pigs, there.
Okay,
And it would have been just, probably straight, I guess it would be east of where Allen's lived there and where Cecil Barnhart was.
yeah, right,
Yeah,
okay,
that would have been, it would have been down in the valley there, so
okay,
You never see them.
you would never see them in
no.
there.
Well, in lots of our areas, they're heavily bushed,
Yeah,
like we don't have a clue.
It's hard enough to find them on open
Yeah.
farmland.
Like Anselmo is pretty much open farmland, but we still don't know how many are in that area,
yeah.
right? So,
Well, I think it's a great idea to go down that path and just see what can
Yeah.
At least
happen.
you can start to map
Yep,
where the reaches actually
exactly. So we thought with the $3,000, I can't remember how many samples that is. But I want to say 6, but I could be wrong. Like I said, we've had one meeting, so it's very, very much in its infancy, but we wanted to have some cost in there to, if the project does go through, then we can do it. So,
is there a mechanism by which you can, get Fish and Wildlife to have hunters report to their offices?
well,
Is
we
there
have
something in place
we
for
have the squeal on pigs, right?
Yeah.
We have like the 310 pigs
Yeah.
line. I think we've done a lot of promoting of that. I think perhaps maybe more promotion.
in
Would
the
help.
hunting community?
Yes.
Because I
yeah.
think that's where you would get a fairly big impact, that make that as part of your licensing, report a pig,
Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah.
Well, in November, there's so many people everywhere
Yep.
in this area that
I think it's just another tool, if you can coordinate that with them,
Mm-hmm.
that would be good,
I'll pass that on to Megan
yeah.
at the Alberta Invasive Species Council, because I know she's been doing a lot of promotion of the Squeal on Pigs program. So I think, yeah, that's definitely I'm not sure if it's a tapped in source that she's gone to yet, but if it is not tapped into, it certainly should be. Yeah, for
I
sure.
know some shot just across the river by the Beagle kind of area as
Yeah,
well, so
right.
you never know.
And pigs swim.
Well,
So-
when the river freezes, everything.
Yeah, they
back
can
and
cross
forth.
back and forth too. Yeah.
So do you see any more, involvement with like West Central, Forage or Grow on any projects?
Well, no, that's something I didn't put in. I didn't put in any because we were going to talk about supporting them, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't know to what extent we wanted to do that support. So that's something that I can still add. Like I said, this is preliminary
Yeah.
budget. This has not even been seen by council, except for you two. So,
Well, for
No, it's just a good
Yeah.
idea. For me, it's just that, we're getting into budget season, and it's a
True.
good idea for us to understand, where maybe you wanna take some of these, initiatives, so.
Mm-hmm. yeah, so we would continue our support of these, the SACA projects, right?
Yeah,
And that's first of all, through our Ag Service Board grants. So we forward the resource-based funding. I forward that directly to West Central to operate those
yeah,
projects. And then we also contribute $5,640 annually to SACA. So that's different than the West Central Forage Association. Like we work with West Central Forage Association for the sustainable agriculture projects. But now if we wanted to additionally provide funding to West Central and grow for, say, plot work and that kind of stuff, then that would be an addition to the budget. So, and I don't remember how much we had discussed or if we actually did discuss a number. Like I know Grow is looking for tens of thousands, but I don't foresee that happening
No, well, I
unless
think,
I'm out to lunch.
yeah, I think that, you know, it's just like anything else, it needs to be sort of the cost benefits, you know.
Yes,
How does that
yes,
apply to us
yeah.
as a county?
Yeah.
One of the things that I think we need to do before, you know, like maybe for the next year, and this is, I've been having a real difficulty with the bison industry in trying to get any movement there to, you know, what are some of the things that you see that, you know, Forage Association could get involved in? They just, they're lost in their little world. But I'm gonna push that a little bit because Scott really wanted to have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
And there is some really interesting projects that we could get involved in that would be good for the cattle industry as well in marginal, you know, grass management in marginal areas. So I'm at a bit of a loss there as to, until we have that discussion, we really don't know how to apply any dollars to that. So,
Right. I'm sure they would appreciate any kind of support,
yeah.
but yeah.
Well, and I think that it serves a purpose given the circumstances that we're going into now with the forage issues that we have. That we start to have a look at, you know, what are some of the things we're gonna do to support that end of the agricultural sector, because we're not getting anything from the province, so we probably have to take care of that ourselves. Linda?
Dawn, does West Central or Grow have any plots in Woodlands County? Or say even close to our boundaries, so that we would, if we were to sponsor, would we be able to go see these on our tours?
They did have some, so West Central did have some in the Anselmo area that were perennial forage plots. I think those have ended now. But I'd have to check with Becky and see if that is something they're still continuing. Because we did provide support for those plots when they were in our municipality. Grow, they don't really have plots per se, but they do sort of have plots. So they work with Greg Thompson, like Bar T5 quite often. And they've also done some other projects up in our municipality for brush control. So they've been doing some tree spraying in some areas. So they basically, the plot is control versus sprayed. So it's kind of a simplified plot, but it is a plot per se. But that's also through like a chemical company. So they get the chemical for free. Like we've done, we did a project with Corteva this year, and we get the chemical for free. We just have to apply it. So that's not really, it's a bit of a cost to grow, but not that much. And like I said, I know they work with Thompson's quite a bit on doing different forage plots, but they're more like a field size. I don't believe they're like little tiny plots like we would, you know, like you see some of the seed companies doing the little varietal plots. I don't think they have much of those.
Yeah, it's too bad Greg's not here, because I don't know whether they're doing an alfalfa grazing trial or whatever along Horse Creek Road there, but
Right.
you know, they did some work right along the highway there as well on some of the hybrid alfalfas. So
Yeah.
it'd be just interesting to know, you know, whether that's part of what we're involved in. Obviously, the service board isn't. So
Not directly,
not direct.
but like when we had Sandeep and Jay come to our meeting, they mentioned those kind of plots, and they're just looking for support to cover some of those expenses. And like at the time, the numbers were pretty high.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's like really cost prohibitive, but yeah.
It's good they're doing those things, but if as long as we're getting something out of that, it's not just kind of, I don't know.
Well,
We have to
normally,
get something in return for money spent.
Mhm.
You
I
can't-
think in the past, Gateway and Pembina, Forge and West Central as well have shared their data.
Oh, absolutely, they will. All we have to, well, you don't even have to ask. Usually they just
Yeah.
send it.
They send it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we, if, I guess you could disseminate that and then give that information to our farmers, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because if we know, oh, well, this certain type of alfalfa did really well in that trial, then we can,
Yeah,
if I get a phone call, I'll be like, oh, well, in fact.
yeah.
So you're pretty comfortable right now that this is gonna fit within the framework of our ongoing recovery plan budget structure?
Well, the bottom line hasn't increased a whole lot.
No.
In fact, I believe it went down a
Yeah.
bit. So that does leave room to put in a little more. It might get knocked out, but it
Yeah.
doesn't hurt to ask. So like I said, with the research groups, that is a potential we could put in. I don't know how dollars you want to put into them, but there is a possibility we could add some in there. I don't foresee needing to put in a lot more dollars in other regards. Like those numbers are fairly decent. Like I think we can run our operations on that budget.
Well,
So-
and I think that this is something that possibly will evolve, because, especially with the way that the RETA is going right now with economic development, one of the questions that we've been asked by the consultants several times is the relevancy of some of the things that we do in the current environment, in the current agriculture environment. And so one of the things that we're gonna be asking them to look at is what is some of the data and information out there that would actually suggest that we should change the direction that we're going.
Right.
And so until we do that, we can't really apply a dollar figure to it,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's a discussion where we have to get out of our silo here and get into a bigger discussion group and say, okay, what is relevant? What do we want to say is relevant now? Because, things have changed dramatically in the last 10 years. And yet we're still operating under the same mandate and under the same structure. So, that's gonna be a further discussion, and I don't think we really can do that until we get, that organized. But I like the fact that you have that room in there, because that's saying that you've done a really good job in maintaining the service level that we are required to maintain. And, there's room now for us to do explore some of the things that we should be exploring.
And two, we haven't even, as a management team, we haven't done a lot of budget work yet.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what, what that's gonna look like. Like, I've heard we were allowed a 1% increase. So I may be able to massage those numbers a little bit more.
Well,
And I don't mean
yeah.
massage, like I'm gonna throw crap in there. No, it's gonna be
Yeah.
like feasible numbers, right? So,
Well, and in all fairness, is that, and seems to be across the board, is that the Ag Service Boards, because agriculture hasn't been high profile at all in the municipal governance, in the municipal priorities, it's being recognized by a lot of the economic development people that, because that neglect has been there, that the resources that should have been given to Ag Service Board to expand those things that we're discussing now, hasn't happened. So I think, down the road, we're gonna see a bit of a shift there, because it's not just those of us that are in the industry that are recognizing that, it's government that's recognizing that agriculture has been very, very badly neglected as a primary economic driver. So, I think that we're gonna see a little bit of change there. And you're probably gonna say, whoa, I need some help.
I'll say, woohoo, I need some help.
Yeah, exactly. That's good.
It'd be about time.
No, I think, I went through that, and I don't see a lot of It's just interesting that there, there is room for, but we have to figure out, how we spend that money wisely.
Yes. So is there a number that, like, we could potentially put in there for those research groups? Like, I know we're not gonna meet Grove's request. I do know that for sure. Because that was like, I think it was 15,000 or something, wasn't it?
Well, I think it would serve for us to, as a, for our next meeting, maybe to have a discussion. Just, it would,
Sure.
we're just gonna be forming this sort of an interim budget, but to have a discussion of what we think is important for our cumulative areas. And what, cause I hear like from Dave Cush, the struggles that some of the farmers are starting to have now in Salmo. And, maybe the way that we allocate funds is gonna be different than what we would expect after we have that conversation.
True, yeah.
So I think it would be a good thing to put a item on our next agenda that revolves around this discussion is how do we think agriculture is gonna change and maybe define, cause we have a lot of greenhouses, market gardens, people that wanna do gate to plate marketing. So what are some of the things that we need to look at in order for us to help that along? Because that's really all we can do is to figure out how we can help that along. And one of the things that is interesting right now is that there is a clear understanding that we're not going to slow down or have an effect on the conventional agricultural model. That's being driven completely differently than what we would choose to drive our own agricultural sector here, because we have such a diverse ag sector. So if we can have that discussion,
Sure.
and maybe if you can find some resource people that would be able to, help us understand a little bit the complexity of that, would be a good discussion to have.
I can get Mr. Roach to come in and discuss.
Sure.
He would probably have the
I
best
think that
feel
would
from
be
the economic sense.
Yeah, and he also is the one that's really starting to help us mold the economic side of the agricultural model, and is suggesting to us the types of people we should be trying to help us do that, so.
Yeah, my only, it's not a concern, but it's just, we need to and I'm not saying we can't work with the economic development side, like economic development board, but I don't think we need to duplicate.
No,
Right, so
we
that's
don't
where the
wanna do that.
fine line is.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah.
no, I agree.
Okay, I'll ask Bert if he would be available for our next meeting.
Good. So, do any of you see anything that you would wanna?
I'm in full support of supporting them because,
Yeah.
for the small farmer or acreage person, they can't afford an ecologist or, somebody to come out. They're doing a lot of the research for us, and from what I've seen, it's just down the road. Like, it's not in southern Alberta, it's not in the States. It actually pertains to green wooded soil in Woodlands County.
Yeah, exactly.
And they have great stuff, like, how much protein do I need for a lactating cow? And they've done that research. Use this, and it's like, wow, it's right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, very accessible, so I think it's great.
all right.
I can make a motion that Ag Service Board accepts the proposed 2023 budget as information. And I think it's good that we started this conversation.
Any more discussion? If not, I'll ask the question. All in favor? Okay. Okay, we gotta set the date for the ASB supper, and it's in Blue Ridge this year, right? Or
Yes. Yes, we
Yeah.
try to go to Fort Cinnamon, Blue Ridge, and Salmo, kind of rotating through. So
what is good for organizational side, because I thought we pushed it a little bit further into March because of the COVID issue last year. Was that the case, or is that a good time?
No, we pushed it into March because a lot of people are calving
Okay,
in February.
okay.
A lot of our board members were calving in February previously. Not you, no, but our previous board members.
Buffalo don't do that.
Some of our previous board members were always calving in February, so March kind of seemed to be the good time. But like totally open, we can move it to the beginning of February. It doesn't really matter.
What do you guys think?
Well, we tried February, March, April.
It's never a great time.
Yeah. Now January's looking pretty good, but whatever you guys think.
Yeah, don't
There's
worry.
enough of us
So-
on our farm that I can
Yeah.
come in.
The end of January will be the provincial conference again too, so we
Okay.
want to maybe try to.
March work again?
Yeah, I didn't think March was bad at all, because
It's kind
it's
of
a
a long.
kind of a place where there's a transition, we have a little bit more room on our calendars too.
So
So,
there's some sun coming out, people are in a little better moods in
Yeah.
January.
yeah,
Yeah.
so if we can isolate it to March maybe,
How is that for your schedule, Dawn? Like,
I'll be back from holidays for a week, so it'll be okay.
Even the holidays. No,
I don't feel bad for her at all.
overall, it's not, it doesn't fall in the middle of something that's.
No, actually, beginning of March is pretty good for us too. Yeah, so it's kind of like in our midwinter stuff, and yeah.
Fair enough.
okay, so can we set a tentative date then for you to work from?
Could we set like maybe like a week or something, and then see what kind of entertainment you want to line up and when their availability is too? Because otherwise, we're gonna probably
Well, if we
That's
do
it,
our
too.
entertainment early, or
Probably.
the dates are pretty easy to work with. So, I like the Friday night kind of
Yeah,
a day, or during the week. I would
what's the first Friday?
really not like a Saturday, but that's just me.
The third. Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Is it the 3rd or the 4th, the Friday?
Fourth is a Saturday.
What the heck was I thinking?
We were in
Okay,
2022 still.
dang. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, that was March.
She's on holiday.
What in the
Yeah,
world?
No,
It's
we
not
had,
yet.
Last year was March.
last year was.
Oh, it was March 4th, yeah, okay,
We're
right.
gonna do the 3rd then?
I did not suggest a date, so never mind.
okay, so third Blue Ridge,
Tentatively.
and you can start looking for potential entertainment and
And if you have any ideas for entertainment, let me know and I can start
okay.
finding pricing and that kind of stuff too. So, I can contact our talent company that I typically deal with, and
See what we got.
she's really good at sending suggestions if I have a budget in mind, and she pushes the budget, but that's her job.
Yeah, right. To the
The
dollar.
other thing is that even if we can, one of the things that people have said to me is if they could have we had pretty full schedule last time because of all the
Yes,
things we
yeah.
had to do. But they really, it's really a social gathering where they like to sit and just connect as farmers,
Yep.
So if there's a time frame that, you can have the entertainment and then leave sometime so they don't feel like they have to leave afterwards.
Yes,
So,
yeah,
that was kind of one of the things that was suggested to me.
yeah.
They really enjoyed last year too, so.
Yeah, we don't like to have it too late so that people don't feel like they have to go.
Yeah.
Like get kind of
Yeah.
thing. No, that's not the intention. Like stay, visit, that's the whole point
Mm-hmm.
of and then the pre-entertainment too. That
Yeah.
time is good as well
Yeah.
for visiting and stuff. So, but that's the whole intent of the supper is people have been cooped up all winter. Let's come out, come as together as a community and visit
Yeah.
and just reconnect. So.
And the other thing that I would like to see, and I don't know about you guys, but I sure would like to see some of the younger people come. Like I really enjoyed the age group last year that came and
Oh,
on.
they had so much
They
fun.
had so much fun.
Oh my
And,
gosh.
I'm going to make sure that my kids make that day
Right.
yeah, Blue Ridge, because that's, if we don't do that, this is gonna start to die, because that's gonna be the next generation of people
Yeah.
that wanna do,
Yeah.
get out of the house after March.
Yeah, exactly.
So if that works,
Yep.
just let's set that date and.
I can do that if you want.
Okay.
Make a motion that Egg Service Board confirm a tentative date for March 3rd, 2023 for the annual ASB supper at the Blue Ridge Community Hall.
Any more discussion? All in favor? It's carried.
Just shake it up a little.
Don't want to be too.
6.6, Don.
Oh,
Board
so,
inspection letter.
right, so this is just a letter from Alberta Agriculture, Forestry and Rural Economic Development telling us that they are still committed to doing the inspections. They've been doing them annually. Our agreement expires at the end of December, so I'm not sure what that will look like going forward, but we will be doing another inspection this fall. Usually we do that in October. So, and basically we have one producer in our municipality. So we just go and walk his fences and make sure that they're all still in good order and his containment standards are up to snuff, and so that's basically all it is.
There's only one left
Yep.
in Woodlands.
Yeah.
Is there any more in the neighboring ones, or?
I'm not sure about Lac-Saint Anne. Yellowhead has now passed a bylaw that you cannot start a wild boar farm. I'm not sure if they have any grandfathered in,
Okay.
but they will not allow any further ones coming forward. But I'm not sure about Lac-Saint Anne. I don't think they have any anymore. Maybe one or two. They're getting fewer and fewer all the time.
And what is the provincial, because they were the ones that originally were the diversification people. So what is their responsibility or their view of this, or have they downloaded that pretty much on the municipalities?
No, I think that's where this came in, because when they started talking about containment standards, like from the Ag Service Board side of things, that had been pushed, like we need to have containment standards because that's where this whole project is failing and animals are getting out, and then they've adapted to become wild quite easily. And so from the municipality side of things, that was being pushed, like at provincial conferences. They needed to be doing something, stepping up, because they did promote diversification, right? And so that's where these containment standards came into effect. So they did put that into effect, and they have been working to get those containment standards up to the level of standard that will contain the animals. So that's where this agreement that they were talking about that expires in the end of 2023. So we have, I guess, one more year of this agreement with them, and at the end of 2023, their expectation is the producers will either have folded up and quit producing wild boar, or they're up to the standards that are required to keep the animals contained. So that's where their commitment has come in. But then too, we've also been working with them as far as the trapping project. And now they put out the hunting bounty thing, which we don't talk about.
So obviously, obviously Yellowhead then must have put in a bylaw.
Yeah, that was from the
Prohibited.
municipality.
So is that something that our municipality should look at? Because I mean, if it is, it's something that we should have a discussion about and should come in front of council.
So I think that we could put that into the land use bylaw, I believe. I'd
Okay.
have to check with our planning and development department. It may already be in there, honestly, I'm not sure. So,
It might be an idea for us to do that, because
Yeah.
that would be, I think, a good step for us to not have, not have that, because they're, even in containment, the risks are high.
It's the
You know.
hardest thing to keep in.
Yeah,
well, all you need is someone to cut a fence,
absolutely.
right? And that's what our producer in the Insalmo area was saying, that he was having his fences cut a lot. And so
Well, that's-
now he's got like heavy gauge panels that, you need a bolt cutter to cut them, like it's not just a
Yeah.
little wire cutter. It's a pretty heavy gauge, and then even to get that so that the animals could get out, It would be hard. But then when the fence cutting came in, that was when we had our bounty in
Yeah.
place, and we had people could
Well,
make money by cutting the fence and shooting the animals. But when you do that, not all the animals get caught, so that's where we had problems. But
Yeah.
being that we can't participate in that bounty program, which is going to reserve my comments, so
Yeah.
so
No, and I think, I just think for our purposes, if we
Yeah.
know that, maybe it's something that council would look at, saying, you know what, for the purposes that are there, maybe we just set a land use bylaw.
yeah, and I'll just check with our planning and development and see if that, like I said, it may already be in our bylaws through planning and development, but I'm not certain on that one. I'm not even 10% certain on that one, so.
it's definitely something
The
worth
lumber's
looking
there.
at though, because if you can eliminate it, look how much money goes into trying to catch these things once they're out.
Absolutely.
The resources and the
Absolutely.
destruction and everything else that comes along with it.
Well, yeah,
Well,
some,
and if there's no handle on it,
mhm.
it becomes an uncontrollable problem.
Oh, yeah.
That's what.
They're pests. Like
That's what's happened, so.
Well, and you see some of the crop damage, like I was out in a oat field last year. It was like a super highway going through there. Like they took out swaths like as wide as the pigs, right? So,
Yeah.
and that's a lot. And they weren't just going the same trail constantly. They're all over and they're eating
not
and
respectful like
bedding
that.
down. No,
You know, stay on.
like stay on the same tram line at least, but no. So, and they're eating and they're bedding down, and so there's a lot of damage in a crop. And
I'm sure the people that are affected by these animals would probably appreciate not having another one start up.
yeah.
And like you said, it's not always the producer that's the problem. It's the idiot with wire cutters
Yeah.
that is causing.
Well, and like anything, it's you can do all of the mitigation you want on livestock containment, and you're still gonna have breaches.
Nobody ever wants their cows out.
No.
Like,
Well, unless there's more grass on the other side.
Yeah. But even with our wild boar producer, he's losing animals, so that's less animals that he's got going to market,
when he,
right? So
that's what I mean. Like this isn't that I think the producer's being irresponsible.
No.
No.
It's the people that are causing him losses as well, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it might be worth something to just look into it, pros and cons, and see what council maybe wanted to do.
And at the moment, what Don's saying as well is that there has been really nobody that has applied
no, we
to
haven't.
get into that business. So if that's the case, you just close the door quietly,
Yeah.
and then it's done.
Honestly, I don't even know if anybody would, given how much problems we have in Alberta with them now,
Yeah.
because it is getting out there in the news, and people are hearing it more and more.
Well,
So
the cost to set this up now with the containment standards is probably
Oh.
almost undoable for most
Yeah.
people that want to do it anyways.
Yeah.
Like you said, if the door's not open, it's not even a conversation.
Yeah.
And then it's
Exactly.
yeah.
Okay.
I just have a comment for
Uh,
Dawn.
yeah,
I was
sorry.
listening to the news the other day, and the province gave out their pig ear numbers, and so far 0 have been turned.
That's a pretty successful program.
I'm not. Really. I'm not smiling big at all.
I think our efforts
Wow.
and what
Yeah.
like Woodlands County is doing, I think is quite effective and successful.
Even when we did do the ear bounty, we were having some success, but it wasn't successful in eradicating.
Yeah.
At least what we're doing, like people would go and they would shoot.
Hi guys.
Hello. They would shoot the animals. They would shoot the big ones that they wanted
Yeah.
to take, not the babies.
Yeah.
So that's every now and then I would get baby ears, but not very often. It was more like adult ears that I was getting.
Well,
So
especially if they're cutting a fence and shooting ones out of the pen, that's not
Yeah.
successful.
no,
Well,
no, exactly.
And the underlying problem is that it's just smarten those pigs up.
Oh, pigs are
Yes.
so smart.
Very much. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right, can we have a motion and accept that as information? Okay.
Guys, Peter, if I could just say, I apologize for being late, but I have a peace offering. There's a coffee from the Western Canadian Coffee Company there, so
Thank you very
Nobody's
much,
mad
Al.
now.
Yeah, it's all good.
We were just talking about you.
Yeah, happens all the time, Devin.
We're at 6.7 when you get your stuff.
Okay. Thanks.
There's a new Wi-Fi password too.
Yes.
Yep.
I've got one here. I think.
Do you have the password handy out?
It's the same as the one.
Staff use, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll wait till you,
Go ahead, Peter. Please don't let me.
okay, can we, get into 6.7, which is the rental of equipment review?
Did we vote on that last one? We voted, right?
What's it?
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, it was carried. So we've gone through the I went through the rental and stuff like that, and I see that we're on the plus side, which is always nice to see. I guess one of the things that I've had a few people ask is that, you know, are there any things that are not being utilized at all that you see that we could just take off? Does it matter? Because we have it anyway.
What's the cost to
What's the cost?
keep the things
If
that are
it doesn't cost us anything to keep it, we may as well have it. Have you done some things with that?
I think, yeah, we have, like, some of our equipment, certainly we don't use it very often. But that being said, we have it. It doesn't we do a little bit of maintenance on it every year just to check it over, make sure it's still in good working order. So there isn't a whole lot. I don't think that we could, I mean, certainly we could get rid of some things, but I don't know if we need to because, like I said, it's not costing us anything. They're paid for. So.
I think like what Peter said too, like the expenses 13,373, revenue 1770. I don't think the intention of this is to make a ton of money.
No.
But we're supplying it for people. The cost is quite reasonable, and we're still coming out on the plus side. That's one major breakdown away from not being on the plus side, but at least
Right. Yeah.
at least it's paying for itself. If we ever get into where those numbers are reversed, then I think maybe we should start looking at the things. But
And certainly there are some pieces of equipment that cost us more than we get in rental. But if you look at the bottom line,
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like some of this stuff is probably pretty low maintenance where
yeah,
maybe a post pounder is a little higher or something like that.
yeah.
Where
Yeah, when something goes wrong on a post pounder, it's a lot more expensive than a skunk trap.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it's a little bit different.
As long
Yeah.
as the door on the skunk trap works, we're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't just
And
open
somebody
on its
doesn't
own.
bring back the skunk trap with an animal in it. That's
It's an extra fee. For
Have you
Oh.
had any requests for items that we may want to add to the service board?
not that way.
Okay.
But now I don't. If you wanted to have that discussion now, would that be a rental that you're
Yeah,
thinking?
that was what.
Or do you want to?
Yeah, we
I
can,
think
later.
we
on
could
board right
segue
now.
that would be a good idea. L 6.11 was added, as an agenda item, as a weigh scale. And the discussion, we've had a request for it before,
Yeah.
because it serves a purpose in our community since, especially in the fort, since Bowmanville is gone. We have no way of having any kind of hay or grain or anything weighed unless you haul it into Barhead and do it.
Yeah.
So there used to be a scale at in the fort, and why it was removed, I don't know.
I think it was an Alberta Transportation Scale, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it was.
That's the one between the two like between the 2 yards.
Yeah.
It had something to do with the calibration of it, or
Oh,
we would
okay.
have had to upgrade it at the time.
Oh,
And
okay.
it wasn't seemed
'Cause they-
feasible because there was one over where Champion, is it Champion, they had their little
Yeah,
fertilizer thing
Oh,
And
is.
that's,
yeah.
that's what's happened in the fort, I think, is there used to be 3 lumber mills that had scales, there was that had scale, there were so many scales around, and now they went down to nothing. So people don't know what a hay bale weighs or how much anything, so they're traveling all the time. So I've had quite a lot of people approach me and ask if we could bring it up here about possibly doing it. And I thought the cost of a big scale, you know, that would weigh a super bee all at once probably is quite high. But even if you could do an axle weight scale, it's way smaller, less maintenance, less room it would take up, and maybe look at something like that. I don't know the costs of that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's probably not cheap to install and what the maintenance would be. But if you had it kind of like this, where it wasn't just free to use whenever you had to, I don't know, put a debit card or a Visa or something in it to get the scale to activate, people I'm sure would be open to that.
Well, and I think the discussion should be as well, could be that, we should poll this side of the county and see where there would be a good place, because I'm pretty sure that people over here would utilize one as well.
We use Miller Western.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of industry is so good about it that they allow that.
I don't know how they feel about it. Just drive in, way, go. Like, they know who it is, you know.
Go
Two
send her
farmers
the
in
bill.
Way. But I'm not sure like
Buying
Merrifields and stuff who they would use. But like when I know Ryan just puts it on the truck and goes, like no questions.
Confidence is key.
They haven't sent us a bill yet. They don't shoot at us. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right.
thanks, Peter. Is that something that maybe we'd ask for a motion from this committee to council to consider at budget time?
Like even a capital project or something, because like I'm sure the county trucks maybe would use it here and there too. I don't know. I think it would be used very, very frequently. I don't know the cost of what that is, but
Well, I think
Sure.
you're right. I think it's location as well, because there's a lot of people that want to know what their axle weights are, because the fines for being overweight now are pretty hefty. And so, what Al was saying is that, you know, if it's something that we see some value in for our ratepayers, we can start, you know, we're not gonna put it in tomorrow, but we can start the exploration and find out
Yeah.
what is it that would be adequate to do that, like you had suggested.
yeah.
And the other thing is you know, how do we justify it? Like,
Yeah, for sure. I would, sorry, if I still have the floor,
Yeah.
I would suggest that, you know, we could make a motion from this committee to ask council, probably, Don, you would be asked to come up with some costs and some usage, et cetera, and then forward it to council for their review. And I agree, Peter, the timeline likely isn't gonna be 2 months, it's probably, you know,
2 years maybe.
maybe, yeah.
But at least what we've done is we've identified it, and we said, yeah, you know, and we can pull our farmers too and say, would you use it? Because I mean, if only 3 or 4% are going to use it, then,
Right,
you know, we'd probably not be interested in getting involved in that.
sure.
We'd have to come over here.
So I could make that motion. Did you sort of capture that, Don?
Jen?
Jen, sorry. Yeah. So I'll just put it on the floor and then we can speak to it. So yeah, just make that motion that the Ag Service Committee forwards to council for their consideration for a axle scale somewhere in the Fort Assiniboine area.
Okay, so we'll put that under 6.7, Don, then, because it's part of the rental review discussion, even though it's on a separate item, or do we put it just under 6.11?
I think it'd probably be better to put it on separate,
So under
because
six-
it's not just more, it's above and beyond the
It's above and
equipment
beyond.
rental, I
Yeah,
think,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Any
we
more
can-
discussion?
Table that until that item if you want.
No, that's fine, we can jump over there.
I was just gonna speak to it. I think maybe as it goes to council, I don't know if we can put out a request for usage of how many people would use it, or a poll beforehand to have that information to go to council. Because that's probably the first thing that we're gonna ask there, right? Is how well used that would be. So I don't know if we can get kind of a survey, not half of the county or something and see. I don't know if we can add that or council has to request that. I don't know.
I don't know. I know we could do like a Facebook poll kind of thing, but I will have to probably ask our communications
Yeah, something.
department.
Yeah, just.
Or if
more
it's
information.
something that should come from council first, maybe that might have to be, but I'll find out.
Linda?
Also, I think that what we need to do is do some legwork before we take it to council, so that council knows what we want, what we're thinking of, and kind of what the different costs are, because I'm sure there are different types out there that, I mean, we can still take it, but I think we need to provide more information than just go and say this is what we would like.
Because I know that you're absolutely right. It's an ask that is coming from the Ag Service Board, and just looking at some of the self-ways that are along the highway, those are just axle-way drive over. You can be guaranteed they're relatively inexpensive. Because I know we have load bar scales at home for weighing individual animals, and they're deadly accurate, and sometimes after Christmas, embarrassingly accurate.
They will weigh a human.
Yeah, because that's how we test them. Ooh.
It's a
So I think, that's, you're absolutely right. We should know what our ask is, to put it on the radar. I think what we can do is say that, this is what we're looking at, and, be prepared for that to come to the table. So,
It's nice to have that information because that'll be the questions that council asks.
Yep.
Is
Yep.
how what's the cost, how much use, all these things. If we have that already, then it's.
and there could be, the other part of it is that it brings up the discussion, is there a partnership where we could increase, we could be asking the commercial trucking side, in the Fort, would you use that scale? And would that be adequate, or do we, because I don't think we should just isolate it to the ag community, because there's a lot of
Fair enough.
other people that are using it, right?
I think location will be
Be the key.
the biggest thing because are log trucks legally allowed to turn off the highway there or not, right? Where a load of hay, they're not as limited, right? So that might be something to ask.
Well, and if you look at the one that's in Westlock, for example, the one that's just east of Westlock, there may be potential of having, asking Barhead County, does it serve a purpose for you guys to have one there? Like, this doesn't necessarily have to just, maybe it can serve a couple of municipalities. There's a good spot right on the other side of the Athabasca Bridge that would be a pullout,
I was just thinking that.
Yeah,
Even by Linda's motor in there.
Or by
on the side
Linda's
of the
motor
road or
in,
something. Yeah.
and maybe the transportation industry, if we ask them and say, hey, would this help mitigate some of the issues that we have because especially on Highway 33, because having been a trucker, that used to be our favorite route because there was no scale all the way from Grimshaw to Edmonton.
To ruin it for the loggers, eh?
So,
And
yeah, so
that-
let's have that conversation.
So that being said, up at the center of Alberta, there's a turnout spot there too.
Absolutely. And we may be able to, from a Woodlands County perspective and a transportation perspective, get a decent scale in a couple of areas that we don't have to pay a lot of money for because it serves the purpose for, we can participate, we can maybe have a fob system that says, if you use it, you pay $3 or $5, who knows?
Yeah.
But I think this opens that's a good
Like the
discussion.
center of Alberta, DOTs sit there now currently.
Yeah.
So Alberta Transportation might look at something there too, because then they don't have to use their mobile scales or whatever. There might be an opportunity there, and that's only 15 minutes from the Fort, and Goose Lake's not far from there either.
Was the site a lot closer than Barhead?
Well, that's
Right.
when in Barhead, the only one I think is there might be a couple.
Seed cleaning
The
plant,
seed cleaning plant,
that's pay to use.
that's the only one.
Yeah.
So they do have one in Barhead.
Yeah.
But I think, you know,
Yeah,
having that
close to the
conversation
port.
with transportation would serve a purpose as well.
Yeah, I don't wanna be a Debbie Downer. Transportation gears move pretty slowly, but,
Yeah.
perhaps, you know,
Unless there's something they want.
yeah, well, and they just do it.
There's definitely not a need, but it would be well used. So it's something I think that we should look into some more. So I don't know, should we change the motion to bring it back to our next Ag Service Board meeting rather than right to council? Or what are you guys thinking, like what Linda said? Is it something that we should gather more information?
I think,
Bring it back here and then?
yeah, I think what we should put it on council's radar. That is something the service board is looking at. Like, we kind of probably agree this is not something that's gonna happen overnight, so.
No.
That we're going to prepare the documentation for that and then have council look at it and see if it's something they are willing to pursue.
That's good.
Okay? Did you get that, Jen?
Poor Jen.
Okay, so now I guess,
She
is
wants
there
to
any more
play back.
discussion on that motion that Al made?
No, I think that's good.
If not, I'll call the question, all in favor? Carried. Okay, now we'll go back to the rental equipment review. Was there anything else that stood out for anybody there that, you know, we should maybe get on to refine before that goes to council?
I just have one. If there's no rates that are way out to lunch or anything like that, like you're pretty happy with kind of where everything's sitting and people seem happy?
Well, we don't have any complaints about our rental rates,
Okay.
no, from our public members, or from the public, no. As far as the comparison, like, that's why we did this comparison of the rates, so if you are choosing to increase any rates, that's fine, that would have to go through our, that would have to go to the
I
council,
don't think
but.
so. I think people really appreciate it. I know a lot of people that use the post pounder and things like that. It's a lot cheaper than renting it from a different rental place. So I just wanted to ask if you were happy with it.
The only issue with our post pounder is it's a PTO driven rather than self-drive, but if you're a farmer, you should have a tractor, in my opinion.
Well, and the other thing, Don, is that, you know, if that would become an issue, we could look at putting a power pack on there, which would work exactly the same.
Yeah, but then too, there are other, like the ones that UFA rents or
Yeah.
in Barhead, those ones are
Yeah.
self-propel, are self-driven, so there
There
is that
access.
option.
They can go there
For-
if that's what they need.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think when you look at this, you know, we're supplying a service at a reasonable rate, and it's not costing the municipality anything really. So, you know, I think it's good right now. So,
And as you mentioned, if you look at the bottom line, we're still above.
Yeah.
We're on the good side, so.
well, and I
those
think
are-
we have to look at this as, you know, what is the time that staff puts in, and then what's the life cycle. And I think we're good there. So,
It's working. Yeah.
okay, so then I guess could we get a motion to accept this information?
I can make a motion that the Ag Service Board accepts the rental equipment review as information.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Carried. VSI 6.8. Second quarter report.
So we're sitting pretty good. We've still got $11,000 in our account, basically, so I think we should be okay.
Is that generally the trend, Don? Is that, you know, we, about this time of year, we're 50% through?
Pretty much, yeah.
Calving season, is that what makes up most of it?
Yeah, so the second quarter, we see quite a bit of a higher usage, and then, the third quarter will be less.
Yeah.
We may see a little bit more in the fourth quarter, but, yeah.
Good.
Is there very many people that do fall calving in
There's a few.
Just a
yeah.
few.
A lot more in spring though.
Yeah,
Probably getting some like semen testing and stuff in the fall already.
Yeah, that's when we would get our semen testing done, yeah.
If there's no other questions, I'd make a motion that Ag Services Board accept the VSI second quarter report as info.
any more discussion? No? Call a question, all in favor? Carried? Thanks, Al. All right. We want to have Dawn tell us about the SCAP.
Or first the annual meeting, the VSI.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I didn't.
Just
I
to
didn't
skip
see
the
that.
step.
Maybe it's that one.
Okay. When is that meeting?
So that is November 4th. It's a Friday and it is in Peace River. They are investigating, looking at a Zoom component as well. So it may mean that whoever the individual is, if you're gonna continue or not, that would be an option, is to go attend by
Zoom.
via Zoom. So we won't know who our representative is again until after the org meeting, but if your intention is to continue, then. Yeah. So it's gonna be a short, between the organizational meeting and the VSI meeting, when I get all those,
Here too.
yeah, all that documentation that's like that thick and you have to go through, yes. So,
And like, fair enough, the org meeting will determine, but Devin, is that the position that you probably want to continue with?
Yeah, like unless somebody really is passionate about it, then I probably would continue on. with
okay, so I can just forward the documents when I get them.
that. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
And if you choose not to at that time, then you can forward them on to someone
Next
else.
person, I'll just keep it. I'll mark it on red.
Yeah. Yeah, so once
Okay.
I get that document, the documents, I can pass those along.
So we just need a motion to
Just need a motion.
send the RFD.
I can make the motion. Ag Service Board accept the VSI letters of information and the representative chosen by council at organizational meeting to attend the annual general meeting.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Would you prefer the Zoom?
It's carried.
Okay, but you could do it. Okay. I'll let you-
Okay, now we're down to the Canadian Agricultural Partnership. That's an interesting,
I'll let-
it's interesting that there seems to be a little bit more focus on some of the agricultural issues now. And it's I think it's a universal recognition that agriculture's been kind of going on without any real
Spotlight.
involvement or spotlight, and the struggles that are out there right now are starting to come to fruition, partly because of the supply chain issues and a lot because of the different challenges in climate and input costs, so.
Yes. Yeah, so this SCAP program will be coming out next year as a replacement of CAP. So we had the CAP program where producers could tap into the grants, I guess you could say, through the environmental farm plan program. They had to have the environmental farm plan in place prior to accessing any of those funds, and I suspect this will be the same kind of thing. So, but there, like you said, there is concentration on the greenhouse gas emission in this program as well. We did discuss that kind of at the last meeting with the Guelph statement. We talked about that briefly, so.
Just a question, Don, is that the carbon mapping that they've proposed in Alberta now, is that funded through programs that like this?
I suspect so, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but I would suspect they would be.
Because that's, I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but that's an interesting, it's an interesting concept, is what they're doing there is they're looking at grasslands as being, they don't really understand what the carbon capture is there and what its value is. And there's been a real change in the amount of grasslands in Alberta because of the price of the crops and the diversity that they're able to grow now, and so a lot of the producers have gone away from, and so what's happening is that I think I'm pretty sure West Central was part of that, where they said to government, look, we need to really start to understand the value of our marginal grasslands more than just in a production sense. And so I was just curious whether that's something that we would potentially have producer participation in.
Yeah, I know there was a project Alberta Agriculture was doing a few years ago. That was before Bill Chapman left
Okay.
the department, so I think it's kind of fallen by the wayside since Bill left. I haven't heard much more about it, but it was regarding marginal lands and the carbon capture and that kind of stuff, so I'm not sure if that's, I haven't heard anything because we were having several meetings, and West Central was involved in that at that time, as was Grow.
Yeah.
Too, so, yeah, but I haven't heard anything about that. Well, basically since Bill left, he was kind of the driving force behind it. So, but I do know that was on an Alberta Agriculture initiative at one point. So I can check with Becky and Sandeep and see if there's still.
I think given some of the things that are happening at outside of the agriculture portion of what we're looking at as council, this whole carbon capture thing is becoming an item which we could provide leadership role in the agriculture community if we would show them that maybe it serves a purpose for some of that marginal land to be used more for that, because it's a value to the greater good, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, because there was a company in Edmonton that was doing the mapping and everything.
Yeah, and I know that the
Meetings.
province allocated, I think, $3 million to that program.
Yeah, it was a
And
significant.
I just was wondering whether that was something that they partner with the Canadian program.
I think it was part of the CAP framework at one point.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't, like I said, I don't know if that's gone anywhere.
So look,
Yeah.
that's a big problem that we have, is when I went to try to research some of this stuff, there's not a lot of information. It's just so hard to find any of that information, and it's so frustrating because you see this on the news and then you go, okay, like how can we, this makes sense, how can we participate in this and have some value for our residents, and then you can't find anything. So, yeah, so maybe that's something that we need to bring up at a service board, the annual service board, to say, where do we get this information, and how can we streamline that better for our municipalities?
We've been after him about the Rope in the Web for a long time.
Yeah,
And that was, Rope in the Web was an amazing
Absolutely,
website,
it
and
was.
then they disbanded that,
Yeah.
and, yeah,
Rope in the Web I went there constantly. for
me too,
information.
yes.
That eloquent.
Yeah, just to that end, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but, I skimmed through that document, and I don't have a good understanding of how your family would utilize that document to actually get some value. To the end of asking our provincial body to help a bit, could we ask for like a Coles Notes? This is what this does for you. These are the things that this provides for you. I don't want to create a whole bunch of work for you, but
Oh, no, and it's not, because what's gonna happen when they do release these programs, they will provide, like a tech sheet or a summary of the program, what things are,
okay. Okay.
in what would be eligible for costs that you could apply for.
Okay.
That's what they did with the CAP program, so I suspect they'll do the same thing
Okay,
with this CAP
okay.
program.
So
so
sometime
each-
March, April.
Yeah, we probably won't see anything until, I would say, April, They wait until the last
Okay.
minute, like after they open the programs, that's when and they won't release all the programs at once, or they haven't in the past. It's like a kind of a staggered entry kind of thing, that they'll release a certain program on this date and another program and so on and so on,
So follow-up question to that, that summary sheet or stat sheet that you're talking about, would you have access to that summary sheet for the current legislation?
Yeah, they're all on the Alberta Agriculture website.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, without trying to create a whole bunch of work, but can you send me a link so that I can go in and have a look? And
Sure can.
what I'd be interested is, okay, so it does these, you know, and whatever, there might be 20 and only 4 apply. But is this one gonna have 6, or is it gonna have 2? You know, what are the differences?
Well, I think you bring up a really good point there, because one of the struggles we have with all of the programs that are out there is that we're constantly trying to create a project to satisfy the program. And I would prefer that we knew what was out there, and then we designed the project and then went looking for the funding. And we can't seem to be able to ever do that because of the lack of information. So, you know, you bring up a really good point there.
Okay, and yeah, no hurry on that. But when this new stuff comes in, I'd like to be able to compare.
Yeah, she's gonna have it done in the next minute.
Yeah, I know, it's probably they're done now,
That's
right?
off her plate.
Not quite, but if I don't do it soon, I will forget because I'll be in the combine for the rest of the week and I'll be like checking out.
There was something I was supposed
Yeah,
to
what
do.
was I supposed to
No,
do?
it's good discussion. That's all you guys, it's good.
So if you want, if there's no other discussion, I can make a motion that we accept the Sustainable Canadian Agricultural Partnership facts and news release as info.
Anybody else? Discussion? All question, all in favor? It's carried. No one's opposed. All right. Correspondence and information. Did you guys see anything in there that was of interest, that you felt was something that we needed to have a look at? Pretty big bunch of information. One of the things that I would suggest to anybody that goes to these, either the SB conference or I believe the RMA, is to go and have a look at the stuff that Clean Farms is involved in. Because at some point in time, I think there's going to be some opportunity there for us as a municipality to start to, you know, reduce what we put into our landfills. And right now, you know, the support mechanisms that they have aren't really that great. They really struggle to, but they've done some pretty amazing stuff. So it's a good place just to go and visit and talk to those guys, because it's a really good, solid group of people that really want to make a change for
You're talking lots of the plastic recycling,
plastics, twine.
all that stuff.
They're,
Yeah.
you know, if they could get into it, they'd also get into some of the other, you know, the sidings,
Yeah.
because a lot of that stuff is going into landfill
All of it.
and yeah,
Go to a transfer station after
Yeah.
spring cleanup, it's full of silage plastic, right? And yeah, like
because I think that what they're interested in is that municipalities get on board and advocate to government and then unless you really see what they're trying to do, they've done some amazing stuff. They've already figured out, I think they figured out how to completely recycle the bags they use for grain and for the big silage covers. The ones they struggle with are the twine, and then the soft covers like the bales
Bale
of
wrap.
bale and the wraps for the bales. They're making some headway there, but they need some bucks to do it.
I think that is something that we should advocate for. Like that's getting so much more popular. Like you go by tons of grain fields now, there's bags everywhere.
Yeah.
inexpensive way, less trucking it to granaries, things like that, I think we're doing.
When I was reading this as well, that they declared, in Carson County, declared a disaster because of there's no moisture, the producers are really struggling there. And they're super affected by that subsidy from the US on the freight. They're unbelievably affected by that because now, I talked to a guy down there, and he says if he buys a bale in Westlock County for $100 a bale, by the time he gets it to his place, it's $65 a bale. So it's $165 if he can buy it for $100.
That's crazy.
And if you look at the average cow in the winter feeding program, would go through 6 to 7 bales, but because they're feeding already now, they're at 10. So that's $1,650 just to sustain that production unit.
That's not worth that.
And so they've downsized. And the underlying problem with this is that as that starts to shift, we start to have a real stress on the slaughter industry, which then in turn affects all these other things. So it's interesting when you read this, like, you know, the ongoing effects of what some of this stuff does.
I have a question with the clean farm stuff. Did we still provide that recycling drop off for fertilizer jugs and stuff, right?
For now,
Yeah.
but they are going to be closing all those down
Yeah.
at the end of this year for us.
So does that cost money to continue that if we chose to? Because that was a government program, right?
Yeah, well, so it didn't really cost a lot anyway, except for, like, we would collect them here at the Whitecourt landfill and just people would throw them in a bin, and then we would bring them back. So it was like the truck to bring them back to the fort and then the labor to unload them, basically. So there wasn't a whole lot of costs. We've already got the facility set up. So-
Can we like continue that on?
I've asked that, and what would happen is they're not going to come collect from us anymore.
Like clean farms won't?
No, we'd have to deliver.
They will collect for our stuff if we want them to come, like for what we use for our spray program. But a whole sea can full, they would be like, you didn't spray that much stuff.
So what's the option for farmers then? Where do they get rid of that?
They have to take them back to the retailers, wherever they purchased them. So, like Co-op in Barhead, Ray Agro, they're handing out bags, like great big bags, plastic bags for you to put your jugs in. And then the cardboard can be recycled, like the
The
containers.
concern, I guess, for me is like most farmers are very good, but what if they're not and they're just throwing these behind a building somewhere and there's problems with leaking and that's into your water system, right? Or your water.
I actually brought that up with Clean Farms, the same thing. I'm like, if we're gonna have jugs floating down the Athabasca, I have a problem with this.
Huge problem.
And they assured me that people will bring them back, so they were fairly confident in that, and I was like,
So how
okay.
many jugs do we typically collect? Like one of those garbage bins full a year?
Well, our sea can gets pretty full, and sometimes we have to bag them afterwards, so we do collect not as many as some of the larger centers, and that's why they're ending ours at the end of this year, because it's not a big facility,
I just have a problem with fertilizers and pesticides and all this. It's not much, but you get a lot of jugs in one area. If somebody's not, then it's a problem. Like
well, some of the
what would
larger
that-
producers are going to have a lot of jugs.
What would that cost us even for 2 loads to drive a truck from Woodlands County to Edmonton, drop that off?
We wouldn't even have to drop it off in Edmonton. We could take it to Barhead to the retailers.
See, I think that the underlying problem is that there's never been any advocacy to really develop a comprehensive recycle or reuse program. And I think that, you know, we always constantly do the symptom management and wrestle with the problem as you're talking about it. So maybe a strategy from a service board should be a little bit like a bit more of an attack that says, look, you know, these are the things that are gonna happen because they will. It's not, it's, you know, hoping that somebody isn't gonna throw a jug over the creek bank is a really poor management strategy.
Yeah.
So
This is
maybe we
something-
need to advocate for that.
Like something that we could bring up maybe at the Ag Service Board conference, something like that to push. I'm sure that there's gonna be some support behind it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was actually at the last Ag
It
Service
was.
Board, and wasn't it in support of getting rid of all these sites? So,
Really?
Yeah, because it's a cost to the municipality. It's perceived as a cost. It's a direct cost that's going to be downloaded on the municipality. And the reality of it is that if you would have a circular view of it, then the person that produces it, and this is what they're trying to do, that produces that can, is going to take it back and finish the cycle of that product. But that's not what's
Well,
happening.
that's the problem. Like try and clean one creek of a pesticide
exactly.
leach, like then you got cost.
Yeah.
Like it.
And you know, the other argument is, and it's a valid argument by people that don't know, is that, well, the can's empty now, so it's clean. It's, you know, well, yeah, we spread the nasty stuff out on the environment, so why can't we just throw the can away as well?
So,
Yeah.
so we talked when we went over the budget about there's maybe like a little bit of wiggle room in there to add something. Is this like I think that this is something we should maybe
Yeah.
like support our producers in the area now, but still try and maybe gain some traction with other municipalities of keeping a program like that going. But to have to take it to Barhead, the only thing is I don't know if you have to split it between where it came from. Like probably
I don't know.
Agro isn't gonna just take the whole truckload or something maybe, but
I'm not sure. Like, I think they're just supposed to take the bags. Like,
even if it was to, where would this drop off be now, Edmonton? For recycling?
no, so what they would do before is they would come right to our site
Yeah.
and pick up the bags. They used to shred them on site, but they don't anymore. Now they just pick up the bags and take them, and then it would go to Edmonton eventually. But,
The cost of transportation for transporting all that air is what basically is the problem with plastics, is that
Oh,
if it's
yeah.
not compressed or shredded or something.
But even the cost, if we had to do 2 loads from Woodlands County to Edmonton a year for all of Woodlands County, that cost is pretty minimal. We're not paying a trucking company to do it. It would be our own trucks or whatever, possibly. I don't know. I just
The cost
think.
is the same whether it's somebody else's property.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that is probably minimal versus something, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
the right
it's something that we should really look at. These,
well, and I can reach out to Clean Farms again and say, listen, this is what we want to do. Is it doable? They're driving right by our site anyway.
yeah,
Like, you're coming from Swan Hills through. So I can't see where it's a big issue, but,
Even if it was a minimal
and it's
cost.
not like we have a ton of them. We don't have a massive collection of
Is that-
jugs. Like all our jugs are bagged now. Like when people bring them in, they have to be bagged. They get thrown into the
aren't
bin
they supposed
bagged.
to be cleaned as well?
Oh, they have to be
Yeah,
cleaned
they
too. They have to be
cleaned. You
triple
can't have
rinsed.
residual.
Yep, triple rinsed and booklets removed, and then they get bagged either at our site or prior to coming to us. But we have a roll of bags in the shed, and they just rip off a bag, throw them in there before they go into the sea can. So they're all bagged already.
Can we talk to them and just see what that cost would be if they made a stop, if it was on us? I don't know.
Yep, okay.
And then see what it would be to truck it.
Sure can.
Did we not discuss this exact thing in the spring? Because I remember you saying that they go back and forth, like, did we
Yeah,
not?
we did.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it was it after the
It was
provincial
after,
conference when we
They announced
had that
they were
discussion, because they had that discussion at the provincial conference and the resolutions, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, when they first came out with their program, I think we talked about it in March.
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
Yeah, so,
because shortly after the provincial conference, they released their program that they were going to be shutting down this, like the lower producer, the lower collection sites, the lower volume collection sites, I guess. Which ours was not like lowest, but it wasn't real high.
Yeah.
So we're getting, technically they're planning to not service us after December,
Right.
so.
Okay. I just recall that conversation and that you, so are they going up to the waste treatment plant with stuff? Is that what's happening?
I think they go up there, yeah.
Okay.
When I was talking to the contractor that does it for Clean Farms, he said they're driving right by us anyway, so for him to slip in and do ours, like pick up what we use as a municipality, would not be a problem. So,
But not necessarily a depot for producers.
yeah. Yeah, so that's a Clean Farms thing discussion.
Dave's got her hand up.
So do we have like a twine / silage drop off?
We do not, no. So that was another project that we were working on with Barhead County and Nearalta and Nearlandia Coop, no, Nearlandia Coop might have been in there
I
too.
think it was either near Alta or
Nearalta was going to do it, Nearlandia was going to be a collection
Yeah.
site.
Yeah.
So that's something that Nearalta kind of pulled out of that project, so we're kind of stagnant at this moment. But no, we don't have a collection site for that.
Transfer stations suck as a collection in the bin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just hate putting it all in a Frank's bag, but that seems to be the way it goes.
Yeah. But it sounds like that's something that they're working on. Either Clean Farms and Alberta Recycling has been working on that for a while too, so.
Well, one of the problems that Clean Farms had with the soft stuff was they were developing a compactor for that. And what I do at home is I've got an old baler and I bale it all and I've stored it now inside. So I'm waiting, because I can't bring myself to bring it to landfill. So I'm waiting now to see, because they say they're getting close to having a solution for that problem. And once they do, that'll change things quite a bit.
Oh.
So,
Yeah. I think their biggest issue at one time was the dirtiness.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it has to be clean to be recycled and
Yeah.
having
That's what
plant
the grain bags.
material, yeah.
The grain bags.
The grain
so
bags
good
are
'cause it's
not,
clean,
yeah.
where
The
it's-
silage wrap is not clean.
Well, and probably chances are there's some net wrap or some twine or something
Yeah.
mixed in
Other
with it. That's
stuff,
the-
yeah, exactly.
It's a different type of plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the application too is a bit dirtier than grain, I guess. Silage tarp is much cleaner.
Okay, is there anything else anybody wants to?
Do you want a motion for to look into the drops for the fertilizer or spray bottles or jugs, or do you want to just look into that?
I can just look into it. I don't know if we need a
Yeah, I
motion.
think that would probably.
Yeah, I'll just reach out to Clean Farms and just ask them about the dollars and then I can bring it back to
Bring
the
it back.
next meeting and we can look at,
Maybe if we can have
Inclusion in the
some
budget.
sort of a plan or something by December would be probably good.
Yep, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so could I have a motion
More
to
work for
accept the information that's circulated? Linda,
Will someone get motion?
any more discussion? All in favor? That's carried. All right, Don,
Okay.
we need to know what you've been up to all summer.
Oh, all sorts of stuff. So, yeah,
You've been busy.
we're harvesting right now, so I jumped off the combine last night and came back to the fort and going back to Westlock tonight to get back on the combine, so.
How much you got left?
Oh, quite a bit. We just started our wheat on Saturday, so should be done wheat today or tomorrow, and then we'll have a couple of quarters of oats, and then all the canolas yet to go. So we'll be
Really?
about a third done after the wheat and oats is in the bin. So maybe half, I guess, about half and half with the canola in it. So yes, but it's been going well. Like we've had a date with the John Deere mechanic for the last 3 days every morning because we had our combines looked at over the winter, over the beginning of the summer, and they missed a few things or stuff wasn't quite done, so we've had some issues, but it's good now. We're rolling now. But I know there's a lot of producers out in the field doing some stuff. I was talking to Greg, and that's why he's not here, is because they're busy doing their harvest. So things are going good, and he was pretty pleased with how much they're getting, given how much rain we didn't get. So at his place, they had 6 inches of rain all summer. So
At Greg's.
so
Yeah,
he was,
we're at 6.85, which
Yeah.
is, and my sister who lives exactly a mile west of me has 8.5.
That's like my place. I'm in a rain belt.
yeah, us two in the fort.
There was 3 storms that I got almost 6 inches in 3 storms. Like
There was one that was 4 inches,
It's
one
insane.
alone.
Oh, it was crazy.
Yeah.
It's funny, really strange.
Yeah, it was so sporadic, the rain this summer, so.
It's so incredible how much water has impact, because we just did a second cut on an alfalfa field, and the west end of it was so thick it was better than the first cut. And on the east end of that same field, and this is a 60-acre field, there was nothing.
Wow.
That's how quickly the rain cuts off.
Oh,
It's totally
Weird.
strange. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, moving on. So yeah, I did do a presentation for the Squeal on Pigs Forum on May 11th. So that was virtual, and it was a really great attendance. And I was not the only presenter. There was a lot of really good information presented, and we had question and answer, like a Q&A kind of a section. So people actually got to ask questions, which was interesting too. So that was a good forum to be part of. I had also done previously to that the Alberta Invasive Species Council annual meeting. It's pretty much the same presentation, but in between those two events, the province came out with the bounty program, so I had to change my presentation teachy bit. So that was trying to bite your tongue in that kind of a presentation. It was hard. But we also had our pond day for the Fort kids, the Fort school, on May 24th. And that was actually out at one of the teachers' places in Goose Lake. So that was a good event. This year they went from grades 3 to 6. Typically we only do 3 to 5, I think it was, or 4 and 5. But we had a lot of kids out there, different stations. They were running all over the place. It was excellent. So.
I actually attended that. It was really good. The only feedback that I'd maybe give for that is the groups were mixed.
Yeah.
Like grade 3 to grade 6. And it was mixed of the people doing the presentations were teaching to such a range that it was kind of just the middle. The young kids, it was over their head, and the older kids were
It was too simple.
yeah. Like, I don't know if they could break
Where
it. I
did
think
you
it was
fall
the
in there,
school.
Devin?
Yeah, I was under. I'm like, what are they talking about?
What does
are
that
they
mean?
saying? But if it was more by age versus just like
Right.
and I think that was
Yeah.
the school maybe that put
Yeah.
that together.
Yeah.
But that would be the only. Otherwise, like everyone that was there was so good. Like they were very knowledgeable, but just the kids' ages kind of coming.
Yeah, it was hard for them to target.
Yeah, but it went really good. Like it was
Were they kind of buddied up? Were the younger kids buddied with an older kid?
It was a group, like I went as a parent volunteer,
Oh.
and there was 12 kids or something
Yeah,
in each group.
yeah.
But there was kids in grade 3,
Yeah.
grade 6.
Yeah.
So the ones teaching and talking it was tricky for them. But
And I think what the intention was is the older kids could help
Help
the
the
younger
younger.
kids,
yeah,
and just to like build that community in the school.
Yeah.
I think is what the intention was.
And
But
that
yeah,
did.
that was the school to, like I say, you guys make the groups.
yeah.
We just get the stuff.
It was still very good though. Like
Yeah.
that's not a negative comment at all.
No,
but
yeah.
It was very good.
Well, and that's what I thought, going from grades 3 to 6 is quite a range
Mhm.
in the curriculum. So that's why I
Yeah.
thought might be an
And
issue.
in cognitive maturation, like
It's,
there's a
yeah,
step in there.
very much. But they had fun playing in the
Oh,
pond.
it was so good.
It was actually an excellent location.
My
So,
fingers hurt. They made us dig worms, and the kids are like, "Hey, can you give me some worms?" So I was digging full worms out for every kid there. Fingers are just raw.
yeah.
No, it was good.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's fine. Yeah, so I think it was overall a good event. We fed a lot of kids with hot dogs that day, and yeah, we had, I think there was 6 stations total,
I think the
5 or 6, something like that.
county was very well represented there as well.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, so it's our chance to be nice to the kids. It's for the children.
Yeah, it's a fun day.
So yeah, we did also had our mountain pine beetle program wrap up, and I did do the report for that as well as for our Ag Service Board grant. So we did not spend as much as we had anticipated with the mountain pine beetle, just because there were not as many trees attacked this year. So I when I did my final reporting, I requested that we carry over that money to this year. So in our budget, there's going to be an amount that's going to be as a carryover. So we're not going to ask for new funds, because I think we had $40,000 left over from the project for this year, based on what I applied for as well as what we carried over from last year. So I will be fine for next year for the project for funding. We should be okay.
Did they take, that beetle take a bit of a hit in that real cold weather through Christmas and the first part of January?
They may have, and initially, like when we started this program, the studies suggested that it had to be -40 for a period of 10 days before it would affect the beetles. And I'm thinking, if it's -40 for 10 days here, I'm not gonna be here either. I'd move out, let alone the beetles. That's a long time to be that cold, so, and like that's a -40 of a high. So we don't see those kind of temperatures that much. But that being said, it could have had some effect, yeah. Or it could be just like everything in nature, it's cyclical, right? So it could be just the populations are starting to come down a little bit, and
What eats those beetles? Just birds?
birds, yeah, that's pretty much, and it's usually the larvae that they're after, because they're like the big fat little grubs that they like, so. Usually the beetles, the adult beetles, are less savory, basically, so. So, yeah, birds like woodpeckers, that kind of stuff would feed on them, but. So, yeah, I did do the Olds College course in July. Again, it's not a representation of Woodlands County, but while I'm there, they know that I'm from Woodlands County. It's not a secret. So, but it keeps me on my toes, because I'm teaching them about weeds and about diseases and pests and that kind of stuff. So
You gotta know it.
I gotta be able to answer those questions. So, yeah, and then it's actually kind of cool, because we have an opportunity to go out to the field and show them what the stuff, like what the weeds look like or what the pest symptoms look like. So it's really a great course and the students really appreciate having that opportunity, because all the other courses that they do leading up to this course are online. So you don't see stuff from a picture that you do in real life. So yeah, they really there's some really positive comments about that. So that was good. I've been doing the crop reports and the also the moisture reports to the provincial government as well as the federal government for the moisture reports. So those have been submitted, and I've been sending those out to you guys. I think I have one that I haven't sent out yet.
It's actually nice to see that though, because you kind of almost get in your bubble of how much moisture and
Yeah.
what crops you're doing around here.
Mhm.
It's interesting to see differences across the province.
Yeah,
It's neat to see that. So thank you for sending those. In.
no worries.
Is it okay to forward those to, yeah,
Oh yeah, it's public information.
sure.
Like you can go on Alberta Agriculture's website and see all of that information, so for sure.
I'm asking after I already did it, but
Just double checking.
I sent it
It
to my
says
cousin.
forgiveness versus
Oh, okay.
permission.
He's
Yeah.
down just north of the Hat, and he likes that info too.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. It's like I said, it's public information. So, yeah. So we've been doing some surveys over the summer. There's the weed survey, the grasshopper survey. We'll be doing our club root surveys in the next couple of weeks here. And while we do the club root survey, we do a little bit of a Black Lake survey as well. They haven't requested a Black Lake survey. Years ago, we had to do a Black Lake specific survey, but we haven't done that. It's not been a big deal, but with the changing in the cultivars with the canola varieties, we're seeing a bit of a resurgence with the Black Lake, so that's why we've kind of been doing a little bit of a Black Lake survey. And typically we do that. There's a gentleman that comes out from the University of Alberta that works with Dr. Strelkov. He's like our lead club root researcher in Alberta. So this gentleman comes out and he does some surveys with us as well. And while we're doing those surveys, we do the Black Lake as well. So
It was nice you guys sent out that notification as well about it. So everyone's had ample notice. That
yeah, and there are a couple people that have requested a phone call, so we'll definitely be phoning them prior to entering their properties, and then building that list if we have more people that we want to contact. And then what we're going to do afterward, once we've done our surveys and we know that it's probably club root, and we talked about this at the board level, so I'm going to send out letters saying we suspect that you have club root. We'll follow this up with the lab.
with a confirmation.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yes, because we do send all those samples into the lab just to make sure. But when we're seeing the clubs, we know that is a club root gall, but just to make sure we send it off to the lab. But it doesn't cost us anything to send it to the lab except for freight. But they do the testing for free for us. So yeah, we'll send those suspect letters, and then we'll do the lab confirmation as well. We've got our nose sprays that have been inspected, and for the most part, pretty good. There's a couple areas that we have to follow up with, but I think I've pretty much contacted them all, and we'll be fine with those. Spraying program is pretty much completed now. Being that it is getting into fall, like any kind of tree control is getting non-existent. They're going to be dropping leaves, so it's not really that good. But yeah, so we've pretty much got all our programs finished out for spraying in that regard. Our weed inspection program was kind of cool this year. We were able to use the muni-site program a lot more this year because I had a little more knowledge of it. Sherry, our summer staff, had used it last year, and our rookie summer staff this year caught on pretty quickly with that, and then James also had used it too. So we were able to utilize it a little more to its capacity. And as a result, I was able to sent out a total of 160 letters, but that was encompassing about 190 parcels of land. Because if one person had more than one parcel of land with an infestation, then I would kind of amalgamate those letters rather than sending them 3 different letters and then hearing about how we're wasting the county money and ratepayers' money and stuff like that. So just trying to reduce costs as much as possible. So yeah, it was pretty good. And I did get a lot of phone calls back from those people that got the letters too, saying, so this is what I plan to do, or what should I plan to do? So that was really positive that they were coming back on that as well. So, and then in the spring, what I'm going to do is all those people that I sent letters to previously, I'll send them a letter again saying, you were identified as having this weed, here's what you can do, and then I'll throw in, most of it was tall buttercup, I'll be honest. So tall buttercup and oxeye daisy. So I'll throw in the tall buttercup and oxeye daisy program information sheet, and then just as a reminder and then just kind of promote that program as well a little more.
Which ones are the tall ones that look like dandelions, the yellow, really tall infectious weed?
Hawksbeard.
There's narrowleaf hawksbeard, there's sow thistle. Sow thistle
I
is
don't
quite
know,
a
but
bit
it was
bigger.
every highway.
Probably sow thistle.
It was everywhere.
Yeah.
Right on the shoulder of the road.
Yeah.
What do they look like, Devin?
It's like a dandelion, but they're like this tall. The head of it looks
Yeah,
almost like a dandelion. But they're an infectious weed, and they were everywhere on the highways.
Yeah.
If you drove anywhere, they were everywhere. I'm like, The
It's-
province has a problem.
it's pretty, it's kind of like Canada thistle, it's kind of like everywhere,
Sure.
so,
It
but,
just looked
yeah.
really bad when it was blooming.
Oh, I
inside
know,
out.
yeah, and it's so noticeable. It's
Yeah.
not even, you
Once
can't
you
even
see
just
it.
say, oh, no, I didn't see it. No, you can see
It's
it.
everywhere.
Yes, for sure. What else? Oh, we've been working still on our Himalayan balsam infestation. We've got a little bit of a lot of Himalayan balsam, but actually we've got it pretty under control now. There's much fewer. When we started, there was like 10 bags coming out of there each picking. So we are down to maybe 2. So it'll take time. It's not gonna, there's a lot of seeds in the soil there. So it's not going to just happen overnight. So we'll just be diligent with that.
That's a brush or a tree?
It's actually just a plant, like a herbaceous plant, but it is, so it used to be a common garden plant, and it was called, I think it was poor man's orchid was one of the common names for it. A lot of people had them in their yards, and they're cool because the seed pods, when they get mature, they actually kind of explode and shoot the seeds out. So when my mom used to have it, so I would take and shoot the seeds at my brothers, and you know, it was fun. But
Spreading it everywhere.
yeah, it's like
Like poppies.
That's not
Yeah.
good.
yeah. So but now in 2010 that got added as a prohibited noxious weed. So it has to be eradicated. It cannot even be controlled from spreading. It has to be taken out, like get rid of it. And the problem is it takes advantage of wet areas, and so it can really affect wetlands quite significantly. So that's why it was on the prohibited noxious weed list. So yeah, it's got to be. But it grows like probably about 6 feet tall. Beautiful plant, but it's like I said, it's very invasive. With those seeds shooting out, it can spread very quickly. So
Especially if they're in your hands.
especially if they're in your hands.
Like Spider-Man?
Yeah. Exactly. So our mowing contractor got a little bit of a later start this year. There was some issues with staffing and such. So, but they are going to be complete, I would suggest, in the next 2 weeks. They're already they're probably about half done the Blue Ridge area and working in Anselmo. So they've gone quite quickly since they started. So they're.
I see you wrote was it consideration for a full ditch cut for next year?
Yes, so that we're looking at doing that because we've got some areas that the brush is starting to grow in a bit. And so Andre asked if I could investigate the full ditch cut on 1/3 of the county for next year, so. I
Do it
did.
kind of in 3 years, do the whole county?
I think that's the plan, yes. And that's what we did previously. We would do 1/3 of the county as a full ditch.
Yeah. I don't think it's a bad idea because there's definitely a lot of not a
Yeah.
lot, but there's some roads that are really getting ruined.
Well, and those saplings, they just grow so
Oh,
quickly. That
so
poplar
fast.
grows so fast, so we don't want to let it go to the point where we have to get a brushing unit in again. And
Yeah.
yeah, so if we can get them taken out with a mower when they're small, it'll be much more efficient. And it's likely in areas that we can't spray either, like might be too close to a creek or something like that. So,
Yeah.
which could be prohibitive with the mowing, but for the most part, they can get in pretty good into those sites. So.
That's good.
So open farm days, I wasn't able to attend, but we did have 2 farms participating. We had the Backwoods Buffalo Ranch and Ural Farms in Anselmo. And our economic development officer was able to attend, and he said there was a really good turnout for those. Lots of positive feedback, so that's good. And then I'm working on some workshops for the fall winter schedule here, and one of those is getting into horticulture, and we're going to continue that webinar series. And that's in partnership with Lac Saint Anne County, Parkland, and Leduc, as well as the MD of Greenview. So we've got those scheduled for October 26th and November 8th. And yeah, we had a really good attendance last time, so we're hoping to have the same attendance with people continuing that series. I think it's looking at soils and what to plant are the 2 webinars this time. And then also working on our Bows and Bows workshop for the first part of December, and we're still working on that, the details on that. So our costs have gone up significantly for that workshop, so we have to rethink how we do that. So, and then I'm sure there's gonna be others that poke up at here and there, but at that point, that's the three that are on the radar right now. And I'll be working on the budget, as I mentioned, and we'll also be attending our in-service training at the beginning of December in Grand Prairie. And that's all.
Thank you very much, Don.
You're welcome.
Any more questions for Don?
I just asked them the whole time when she was
Okay.
talking, so I'm good now.
Please hold your questions to the end.
Yeah, you're up to it next time.
All right, then, I would entertain a motion to accept the service.
Make a motion that the Ag Service Board accept the Agriculture Service Manager's report dated September 9th, 2022 as information.
If there's no more discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. I guess now we need to have the final motion. Entertain that one. Dave?
Yeah.
Dave?
Adjourned
Dave?
at 12:13.
Adjourns at 12:13. All in favor? Carried.